Having some basic sense of religious context, of religious history, religious studies can be very helpful if you have an interest in Himalayan and Tibetan art. Now, one of the basic books that I highly recommend, I think is extremely useful, is called Buddhist Civilization in Tibet by Tulku Thondup Rinpoche. And I believe this was published by Routledge and Kegan in 1987 out of England and the US. I think earlier I had mentioned that I thought it might have been published out of Library of Tibetan Works and Archives at some point, but I believe that's not the case. I was mistaken. Now, why is this book important? Well, it's important because Tulku Thondup is somewhat academically inclined, very clear thinking, and he's designed the book in really three parts. The first part is, which he calls sort of an introduction, is an introduction to the key political and religious figures of Tibet and the Himalayan regions. Then he goes into the important founders and teachers of the Nyingma, Kagyu, Sakya, Gelug, introducing some maps and some geography of India and Tibet. But the main part is called The Development of Buddhism in Tibet, and really what he does is he introduces you to the four main religious structures, which are Nyingma, Sakya, Kagyu, and Gelug. Now remember, these are really political. The four, they were established in the 17th century under the fifth Dalai Lama as a political structure to organize the different religious traditions. It was the four traditions of Buddhism and the two religions. The two religions are Buddhist religion and the other is the Bön religion, not to be confused with this modern mix-up, thinking that there are five schools or five traditions of Tibet, which is not true. There's Buddhism and Bön, and then under Buddhism there's four main political structures established by the Ganden Podrang in the 17th century. But they're very useful. And then he gives a miscellaneous category where he talks about other traditions. So it's quite useful because it's useful to understand how people currently think about these traditions, because it is very much meshed between religion and politics. So then the third part is the scope of Tibetan literature. And this is important because he breaks down all the different genres and types of Buddhist literature out of which the painting and sculpture comes from. So this part is very important. It's generally done as lists, easily absorbed, easily understood. But this book is a very good introduction to the subject of the religious background of Himalayan and Tibetan art. Press the like button, you can subscribe, you can join HAR on Patreon, and you can make donations directly on the homepage of the Himalayan Art Resources website.